title card, the red gold, and the clan signs. Begin not with a ruin, but with a sign. A bear, a wolf, a beaver, a turtle, a deer, a snipe, a heron, a hawk. In the source material, these are not merely animals carved for decoration. They are names of belonging. They are clan signs. They are a social map. Allen describes an older form of government, in which a person was not first known by a town line, a county line, or a deed to land, but by relationship, gens, phratry, tribe. In that world, identity moved through kinship. Property remained within the gens. Obligation moved through the family line. The clan sign made that structure visible. A totem, in this sense, was not a casual symbol. It was a public marker of who a person belonged with, and who carried duties toward whom. The bear sign was the sign of the bear people. The wolf sign was the sign of the wolf people. The mark was memory, law, kinship, and history at the same time. Now picture the longhouse. It is not just a building. It is the architecture of the clan world. The longhouse shelters many families under one roof. It turns kinship into space. It says, we do not live alone, we live in relation. That is the first key to this story. Clan symbols are not ornaments. They are the visible language of a society. Now follow that language backward into memory. Horatio Hale, writing in 1883, listened carefully to the old traditions preserved by David Cusick, a Tuscarora historian. Many 19th century readers dismissed Cusick because his chronology seemed strange, and his style did not sound like European history. Hale took a sharper view. When Cusick's statements could be checked by language, Hale found them worth taking seriously. That matters. It means the Tuscarora voice cannot be brushed aside simply because it speaks through indigenous tradition rather than through a courthouse archive. Hale did not claim that every detail was literal in the modern sense, but he argued that Cusick preserved real memory. In that memory, the ancestors of the Iroquois, the Haudenosaunee world of the source, once belonged to a broader Huron-Iroquois people north of the Great Lakes and near the St. Lawrence. The migration did not begin as a vague wandering. It began in remembered homelands, rivers, council fires, and separations. Hale reads the Mohawk as the earliest form within the Iroquois speech chain, the eldest brother in council language. From that eastern place, the nations separate westward: Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, Seneca. Tuscarora, in Hale's linguistic reading, is closely allied to Mohawk, but not simply a daughter. It is a sister branch, separated early, with its own path southward between the Roanoke and the Allegheny Mountains. So the migration story is not only geography. It is language. Speech itself becomes a trail. Then comes the most striking image: the Golden City. Cusick's tradition tells of a great power south of the Great Lakes. It speaks of an emperor, forts, and a golden city. To a European reader, that phrase might sound like fantasy, as if the story had drifted into myth. Hale gives it a different meaning. For Hale, the gold of this northern world was copper. Not yellow gold from Peru or Europe, but red copper from the Lake Superior country, hammered, traded, worn, and valued. Copper could become beads, ornaments, axes, pipes, and sacred-looking objects. It required labor. It traveled long distances. It carried prestige. In that reading, the Golden City is not a fairy tale. It may be a memory of a copper-rich town, or a center where people knew how to work the red metal. A place of copper could become, in tradition, a place of gold. This is the second key. When the source says gold, Hale asks us to look for copper. The tradition then turns to conflict. The northern nations, gathered around a council fire on the St. Lawrence, send an ambassador south. The southern power builds forts, pushing toward Lake Erie. The northern people fear that the south shore of the Great Lakes will be taken from them. War follows. In the tradition, the northern people prevail, and the forts and towns are left in ruins. Allen uses this to suggest a remembered contact between Iroquois-speaking peoples and the fortified mound-building societies of the Ohio Valley. Hale strengthens the point by comparing Cusick with a separate Lenape, or Delaware, tradition. That tradition speaks of the Allegui, or Tuolagui, a powerful people in fortified towns, and of a long struggle near a great river. The important detail is the river. Earlier interpreters thought the Great River meant the Mississippi. Hale argues that it was more likely the upper St. Lawrence system, especially the Detroit River, between Lake Huron and Lake Erie. That change moves the memory north, closer to the Great Lakes frontier, where these traditions overlap. The result is not a simple proof. It is more interesting than that. It is a convergence of signs. Clan names, longhouses, language changes, copper prestige, council fires, forts, migration, and memory. Read together, they tell a powerful story. The past was not empty land waiting for explanation. It was a living landscape of nations, kinship systems, trade routes, sacred materials, and remembered conflict. The bear, the wolf, the beaver, the turtle, the deer, the snipe, the heron, and the hawk are not footnotes. They are the grammar of belonging. The red copper is not just metal. It is wealth, prestige, and memory, the northern gold. And the Tuscarora voice is not noise. In Hale's reading, it is evidence, a native record that deserves to be heard with care. So the story closes where it began, with a sign. A clan mark. A council fire. A river crossing. A city remembered as gold because copper flashed red in the hands of the people who knew how to work it. This is not the story of a vanished race. It is the story of indigenous memory, still speaking through symbols, language, and tradition.